in studio, I am joined by Ronald T. Sambova. He is an educator, women's advocate, youth interactive writer, and law student at the University of Zimbabwe. Originally from Honde Valley in Mutare, he has dedicated his career to teaching and youth empowerment. He's passionate about writing. He's contributed to the Herald, which we were just talking about, acquires ZTN newspapers, and is using his platform to amplify youth voices. He's also the founder of Influence Hub Women's Magazine, which focuses on women's empowerment and socio-economic issues. His advocacy extends to the Fund Her Education campaign, which mobilizes resources to support girls' access to quality education. Ronald, good morning, and thank you for joining us. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Educator, women's advocate, interactive writer, law student. How do you manage it all?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on this show. So basically, this started when I was in high school. So I used to love, just, reciting poems, writing speeches. So what happened is I met a teacher who actually saw the potential in me. And so she was the person who actually gave me the first chance to write for my very first publication, which was in Kwayedza Dzidza. That was in A-level high school. I've since finished A-level. I'm now doing law part 1 at UZ. So that was when the passion for writing was actually born. So since then, I've also met Mr. Latwe Nyangu from the Herald, who has been working tirelessly to help me become my best as a journalist and writer. So basically, the passion for women's advocacy, actually, I think it comes from my mother. She's a hardworking mom. Like most moms, they're hardworking. She's also a teacher. Yes.
Right, and maybe in terms of your inspiration there, I can feel the passion that you have about your writing and the work that you're doing. I mean, growing up in Honde Valley, who were some of the writers that inspired you to sort of pick up the pen and, by the time you're A-level or writing in Kwayedza?
Yes, actually, my inspiration, particularly in writing, I would say it was my teacher. Growing up, to be honest, there weren't really that many places where you could actually buy publications in the rural areas, which I think needs to be addressed. Most learners, they are full of dreams, but the problem is they don't have access to some of this information where I come from. So it's a challenge. So it came through exposure as I grew, and I'm talented, not talented as in bragging, but I'm blessed by God, I was able to attend some of the best schools in the country. So it was through education that I was then able to meet the relevant people who could actually help nurture that gift. I would say my role model or the person who inspired me was my high school teacher, Miss Taimo. Yes.
Miss Taimo, a shout out to her, and thank you for inspiring this young woman. You talked about having been privileged as well. Let's talk about some of the schools that you attended on your way to starting from primary school, high school, or up to UZ now.
Okay. So basically, for my primary school, I did at a school called Una Christian College. It's there in Auna, Honde Valley. So that's where I wrote my grade 7 examinations, and I passed magna cum laude with 4 units. At that time, we were still doing 4 subjects. So upon, passing, my mom was so ecstatic. She's a teacher. So you must imagine, she was so happy for me. Then it was then when I got accepted as St. Faith. Boys are in Rusape, and you know it. Yes. So I got accepted as St. Faith. Then I learned there for 4 years, I wasn't that active very much in writing or public speaking. But it was now when I was in A-level that I saw that I could make a difference. I could actually start to express myself more through public speaking, debates, writing. Then I moved here to St. John's, Chikwaka, where I began, actually writing for Kwayedza Dzidza, engaging in debates, public speaking. And it has been interesting up to now, actually now writing for the Herald. Yes.
All right, and what has that experience been like for you, writing for the Herald? You seem like a very young man, writing for the Herald, for Kwayedza. What has that experience done for you?
Actually, to be honest, it has been life-changing, growing up from the rural areas, being here is a blessing, I would never thought I would be here maybe 2-3 years ago, But I would have to say thumbs up to education. You know, it can change our life. It was only through education that I could have been here in the first place. But had I chosen to drop along or to give up along the journey, I wouldn't be talking to you or even being able to write. So for me, it has always been about, you know, education, you know. It is the power to change individuals, to help us realize our dreams bit by bit to get closer. Yes.
You talked about the influence that your mother has had on your young life.
Yes.
How much has that impacted the work that you're doing with women's advocacy? And then I want to lean into you know, the influence it had in you maybe starting this Influence Hub Women's magazine and the impact that it's made so far.
Yes, basically, so I'm privileged. Like I said, I have both of my parents alive. They are all working. Apparently, my dad is a retired teacher. She was also a teacher. But for now, my mom is kind of the one who pushes everything, you know, keeps everything under control. But to be honest, both of them have played a very critical role. From when I was in primary, my dad used to teach at that same school where I was in primary. So he's always been, you know, holding my hand through it all. Then, you know, up until now, it has been my mom who's kind of now, you know, holding the reins, you know, kind of, you know, pushing us to go to the next level. So I kind of feel like I draw inspiration from here. I want more women to be in a position to sustain their families long after maybe their partners or their husband is no longer there, or for some reason they are no longer working. So that this has been my mission, because I feel like if more women could be empowered through education, you know, they could change the nation. So that's why I'm more into women's empowerment these days, because my mom, she's literally the one who makes it possible in my life.
And let's talk about the Influence Hub Women's magazine.
Yes.
What issues does this magazine tackle, and what has been its impact so far?
Yes, so the Influence Hub magazine is kind of something that I started in high school, you know, long before I began writing for Kwaiza. So I had this passion, you know, when you want something, you don't stop because you don't have the resources. Long before I was even writing for the Herald, I used to write, you know, put along some other writers, compile the issues, then we would actually publish it. So in terms of progress, we have come a long way, very long way, you know, from the time I was writing, you know, some stuff, you know, and the stuff that I'm now writing, we can compare and see the change, you know, the quality of the magazines, you know, the focus. Originally, we intended it just to be a random magazine, you know, focusing on all issues, but as I have grown with exposure, with experience, I saw the need to kind of make it a women's magazine, because I believe socially women are marginalized, they're disenfranchised, you know, we can do more to push the movement for women's rights.
You speak with so much pride about the work that you've done, the people that have influenced you. But let's talk about your work with the Herald and Kwaiza. What kind of stories have you been contributing to those publications as a young interactive writer?
Okay, so for the Herald and Kwaiza, I have been honored, you know, through my teachers and other mentors here at Herald and ZTN. We have seen the potential in me. So basically, I've been focusing more on educational content. I usually write motivating, you know, learners not to give up. And sometimes I kind of mix in the legal aspect of education. Since I'm also a law student, I kind of write about the legal framework surrounding the education sector. What does the Constitution say? For example, most people in the rural areas where I grew up in would know, like, what does the Constitution say in terms of education, you know? Like, they have to know that Section 75 of our Constitution guarantees everybody, whether young, old, or an adult, the chance to get a basic education. And by basic, we are saying at least an ordinary level education. And that's the basic level in Zimbabwe. So that has been the kind of writing that I've been doing for the Herald, you know, just, you know, getting the word awareness of education and the law and what it says. Yes.
Education seems to be a running theme from the way you were brought up, how your parents being teachers, actually. You doing well in school, you coming in, you know, coming to St. John's, Chikwakwa, now they use it. But I understand you're also involved now in funding, helping fund education for others. Please just shed more light on that.
Yes, actually, we have this initiative that we launched with some other artists of, I think you know this artist, Nolondu J. She's a Bulawayo-based rapper artist, you know. So we have been working on an initiative with her, you know. So what we did is we created a website where we actually, you know, publish our services and products. You know, you see the Influencer magazine. If you go to, if I may share, if you go to www.ronaldsambona.co.zw, that's my official website.
Yep.
Yes. There you will see the products and services that we are selling, not for personal gain, but in doing so, we want to make sure that we at least get a girl child educated, that we at least help those who are, you know, struggling to pay fees. There's also a feature whereby people can just donate without buying, you know. So those of you who are interested in helping us, you know, move or reach our goals in terms of education and empowerment, you can actually visit that website.
Oh, so just give us the website again.
Yes. So the website is www.ronaldsambona.co.zw.
So, I mean, is it only through the website that individuals or even organizations can contribute? Is there any other ways of getting in touch with you and contributing towards this wonderful initiative?
Okay, so thank you so much for asking. Yes. So it doesn't have to be the websites. I understand some people have actually come in person, you know, to offer us their financial assistance, be it stationery or anything that you think is valuable for someone. So if you have any form of financial assistance, be it Eco Cash, One Money, anything that you can give us, even in person, just feel free to call us on our number, which is also available on our website. You know, yes.
All right. And, I mean, what has been the response? Because obviously, I mean, you're a young man,
Yes.
Who's still part one at the University of Zimbabwe.
Yes.
I mean, law is not an easy thing to do.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you then navigate all that,
Yes.
you know, pursuing your own education,
Yes.
contributing to the Herald,
Yes.
contributing to Quiet Zazita, and still trying to fundraise for others? How do you put it all together?
Yeah, there was someone who said, where there's a will, there's a way. So that has been the driving force. Like, I love what I do. So come what may, I'm committed, you know. I know there are challenges, like we are saying, you know, balancing time sometimes is an issue. You have other commitments, you know, you have your own challenges, you know. But, you know, I love what I do. I wouldn't, you know, miss it or sacrifice it for anything else. So just this heart for saving others is what propels me, despite everything.
All right, and just before we let you go, maybe just your final words to
Yes.
other young people out there, not just young ladies,
Yes.
boys and girls
Yes.
who are watching you, are inspired by a story.
Yes.
What would be your message to them?
Yes, my message would be actually the words of the late Nelson Mandela, President of South Africa. He actually said something that is quite remarkable and is still true up to this day. He said that it is only through education that the daughter of a peasant can become the farmer. It is only through education that the son of a mine worker can grow up one day and become the owner of that mine. And it is also through education that the son of a teacher can become the president of a great nation like Zimbabwe. So that's my word. Just continue with education. It has never failed us, you know, and keep, you know, learning. Yes.
Ronald, thank you very much for joining
Yes.
us. Fascinated by your
Yes.
journey, and I hope you continue touching lives.
Yes, thank you so much, as you say.